So the Houston Texans are one of the most interesting franchises in the NFL. Unlike teams that are historically bad that can't seem to land talent, the Texans are quite the opposite. They've had tons of talent come through their organization, even some future Hall of Famers, but they've never really won anything, and they don't really have anything to show for it. I can't remember the last time they honestly had a deep postseason run, if ever. Think about it. They had Andre Johnson for his entire career, easily a future Hall of Famer, but he doesn't really have any postseason stats or accolades to show for it. They had J.J. Watt for his entire career. In his prime, this was the guy that you had to double team and triple team. He was one of the most dominant defensive linemen we'd ever seen, but that somehow still wasn't enough to carry the franchise, and the Texans couldn't really build a consistently winning team around him. As of late, I think the best way to describe the Houston Texans is it's an organization that's terrible at developing talent, see Jadeveon Clowney, and terrible at keeping talent, see DeAndre Hopkins. So Jadeveon Clowney, this guy was a freak athlete coming out of college. He was one of the most sought after prospects I've ever seen entering the NFL. Everybody wanted him, and everybody was excited to see what he could do in the NFL. As we all know, the Houston Texans drafted him, paired him with J.J. Watt, and unfortunately we never really saw any insane production out of Jadeveon Clowney, which honestly just doesn't make sense. I mean, think about it. J.J. Watt was getting double and triple teamed some plays, and the Houston Texans still kind of struggled to manufacture an elite pass rush. Now, J.J. Watt did have a good season or two in Houston, but for the most part, I feel like he just really wasn't utilized to the best of his abilities. Now, I'm not putting all the blame on the Houston Texans, but good teams develop players, especially #1 overall picks like Clowney. If you guys don't know, #1 overall picks, they're supposed to be franchise players. They're supposed to be locks for the Hall of Fame, and Jadeveon Clowney just kind of ended up being none of that. Now, I know he had some injury issues and stuff like that, but again, even when healthy, I really just don't think the Texans got the most out of Jadeveon Clowney. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, we all know how this went, and we all know how this is going. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's one of the best draft picks the Texans have had in a minute, and he was actually one of the bright spots in this organization's kind of spotty past in terms of acquiring talent and developing talent. DeAndre Hopkins turned into a complete stud. That said, we know how this went. Relationships went sour, and they ended up trading away DeAndre Hopkins for a little bit of nothing. Now, in the moment and in retrospect, we all knew this was a terrible and lopsided trade, but it's not the first time this organization has really made just wild trades that don't really make sense. As a matter of fact, if you look at the trade history, it's kind of spotty. Think back to 2019. At surface level, the Texans made a smart decision. They wanted to get a new offensive tackle for the franchise QB. This is smart. It makes sense. How they went out to acquire it is what doesn't make sense. The Texans gave up first-round picks in 2020 and 2021 and a second-round pick in 2021 to land Laramie Tunsil, big prospect out of Ole Miss, good player, decent player, but was he worth that load? No. Did they absolutely overpay? Yes. And that's just another tick on the Houston Texans timeline of really just being an incompetent franchise. Now, fast forward to the present, the franchise QB is demanding a trade, and the most decorated player ever, Andre Johnson, just called the organization pathetic. So Andre Johnson just tweeted, "If I'm DeShaun Watson, I will stand my ground." That means, hey, if I'm DeShaun Watson, I'm getting my trade. I'm not staying here any longer. He continues, "The Texans organization is known for wasting players' careers." Think about it, J.J. Watt, Hall of Fame talent, dominated the league for a decade. Nothing to show for it. Same with Andre Johnson, Hall of Fame talent, dominated the league for a decade. Not much to show for it in terms of rings and playoff success. He continues, "Since Jack Eastbury has walked into the building, nothing good has happened in/for the organization. And for some reason, someone can't seem to see what's going on. Pathetic." I gotta be honest, I've been following football for a long time. I've never seen the most decorated player for a franchise turn around and just give them a verbal lashing that Andre Johnson just did. This is like Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith turn around and said, "Hey, the Cowboys suck." You never see that. This never happens. This is extremely rare, and this is a huge indictment on the Houston Texans. I think for a while now, we've all thought the Houston Texans were kind of just a ticking time bomb, and honestly, I think it's finally exploded. I think things have been bad in Houston for a while, and they're getting worse. If they lose DeShaun Watson, I honestly don't know who or how or if they will ever be able to rebuild and be a competitive team. You know, I think it's going to have to be a big shakeup from up top, maybe even selling the team. New GM, new coaches, maybe even new ownership, because right now the Texans, they've just been historically and consistently bad, and it just doesn't make sense. You know, a team like the Browns, they were consistently bad because none of their draft picks were panning out, and yeah, some of that falls on them, but at the end of the day, if none of these guys are panning out, if none of these guys are showing any promise, it's only so much you can do. The Texans have consistently had players show numerous amounts of promise and just have consistently failed to build around those players. They never really got Andre Johnson, a consistent quarterback, and now they're struggling to get DeShaun Watson, a consistent target at receiver. Them letting DeAndre Hopkins go should have been the biggest warning sign to anybody around the Texans organization, including fans, that they don't know what they're doing. Even J.J. Watt went on record this year and said, hey, I'm not looking forward to a rebuild. My career is coming to an end. I want a chance at a ring. I want a shot at winning. And he pretty much said, hey, that's not gonna happen here. We all know it. He knows it. The writing is on the wall. Texans fans, sound off, man. Let me know what you think, because this is, man, I think the Texans might be the new Browns. You know, for a while, the Browns were like the worst team in the league. If you got sent in the Browns, it was like football purgatory. It was football hell. I think that's what the Houston Texans are. The Texans are like, hey, this is the last mile. If you can't work out here, you can't do anything here, you're out the league, because this is as low as it gets in terms of NFL teams. You know, the Dolphins, the Browns, even the Jets are kind of showing some promise with their top pick. The Texans are they're just in the middle of nowhere. To be honest, in my opinion, the Texans should trade DeShaun Watson because he puts them in a terrible position. The Texans will never be bad enough to just tank and rebuild with a couple of high picks with DeShaun Watson as their quarterback. And then the management is so wild, you never know if they're gonna trade away picks either. Like, oh man, this is all bad. Nothing good is going on for Houston. I actually agree with Andre Johnson. If you guys agree, disagree, let me know too. Let me know what teams you might want to see DeShaun Watson go to. I think I might do a follow-up video or maybe potential trade destinations for DeShaun Watson, because to be honest, I think we'd all love to see him go to a team where he can compete and win and be in the postseason with the other young great quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, etc. So yeah, let me know what you think about that trade, any trade ideas you might have. Let me know what you think about the Texans, what they should do. Again, I think they should just flat out trade Watson, commit to a nasty rebuild for 3 or 4 years, and then hopefully get back to winning games. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. If you're new, hey, you made it to the end of the video, man. You might as well 1, like, 2, subscribe, 3, turn on noties. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.